Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Prana Chakshu Shrotram Matho Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahmopanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarod Anirakaranam Astva Nirakaranam Mestu Tadatmani Nirateya Upanishatsu Dharmaste Mai Santu Te Mai Santu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May my limbs, speech, vital force, eyes, ears, as also strength and all the organs become well developed. Everything is the Brahman revealed in the Upanishads. May I not deny Brahman. May not Brahman deny me. Let there be no spurning of me by Brahman. Let there be no rejection of Brahman by me. May all the virtues that are spoken of in the Upanishads repose in me, who am engaged in the pursuit of the self. May they repose in me. Om, peace, peace, peace. By the way, just a small aside, whenever I read it in English, I say Brahman, but the correct pronunciation in Hindi or Sanskrit would be Brahma. But anyway, that's all right. Now, we are studying the Kena Upanishad. We have started with Adi Shankaracharya's introductory notes. He has written 2 commentaries. Shankaracharya has written commentaries on at least 10 of the Upanishads, arguably 11, on the Brahma Sutras, on the Bhagavad Gita. And on the Kena Upanishad, uniquely, he has written 2 commentaries, the so-called Padabhashya and the Vakya Bhashya. And what we are studying is the Padabhashya. So here, we were seeing last time various observations which Adi Shankaracharya has made as a preliminary to the study of the Upanishad. Today, we're going to get into something very interesting. It is what exactly is monastic life in the Vedic paradigm? What is the difference between worldly life and spiritual life, or between a monastic life and a householder life? So this difference, what is required to be a Vedantin? Or another question would be, what is a monk as understood in the Vedic sense? In the Vedic worldview from which this Upanishad is coming, what is a monk? What is a householder? Another way in which the question is put, and that's how Shankaracharya will start. The Purva Paksha, the opponent, asks, all this is very well. You want to realize that you are the Atman, you're Brahman, all right, fine. But why not combine it with our Karma Kanda, with our ritualistic religion? You pursue your Vedanta, but also perform the fire sacrifices, the Swaha, and basically, why can't you combine householder life and a spiritual life, a worldly life and a spiritual life? Let's put it this way. Worldly life and a spiritual life. Why can't you combine them? Or another way of putting it would be, what is the justification of giving up all rituals and becoming a monk? That's what it means in the Vedic sense, that all ritualistic duties are given up. Why? Why would one do that? Why not continue? So this is an important question. I'm quoting from the commentary of Shankaracharya. The way he puts the question is this: Karma sahitadapi jnanad etad siddhyati iti chet. All right, you are pursuing knowledge. Knowledge together with your ritualistic observances, you can attain moksha, liberation. What's the harm? The Karma Kanda, those who uphold the doctrines of the Karma Kanda teachings, they want to preserve the Karma Kanda part of it. They don't want anybody to leave it. So why would you want to do that? Even this jnana which you want, we understand you want jnana, you want knowledge. Why not combine it with worldly prosperity, with going to heaven after death, and also your moksha, the 2 of them together? What's wrong with that? So Shankaracharya will answer. He says, no, it cannot be combined. Why? For this, we must understand what karma kanda implies and what it promises. The central idea of karma kanda is causality. If you do this, you will get this. If you do dharma, you will get punya, and as a result of punya, you will get sukham. In English, if you follow the ritualistic actions prescribed in the karma kanda portion of the Vedas, then you will get merit, good karma. And that merit, good karma will result in a pleasant life here in this world and hereafter, after death also, in heaven. So this is the basic idea. Causality. Causes have effects. Actions have consequences. As Vivekananda put it, good, good, bad, bad, and none escape the law. Whosoever wears a form wears the chain too. So if we have a form, we are embodied. This is the result. As one sadhu put it very nicely. ये देह तो पूर्व कर्म की बच्चा है. This body is a child born. What are the parents of this child? Past karma, or past karma. This body, this life which we have got. So actions have consequences. Causes, if you set into motion causes, you will have effects. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing. Those who understand causality, they can lead a better life. People who do not understand causality, they are in for shocks. They are in for suffering, more suffering. Why? As it is said, there's an old Sanskrit verse which says, Sukham icchanti, that the people want sukha, but they don't want to do the dharma necessary for sukha, because the dharma will produce the sukha. Dharma means the moral action, ethical action. Ethical action produces good karma produces pleasant experiences, sukha. And people don't want dukkha, people don't want suffering and misery, and yet they will not stop from doing adharma. So in one case, I want the result. What is the result? Sukha. But I'm not willing to put into motion the cause. What is the cause? Moral life, ethical life. Or more specifically in the Vedic paradigm, these Vedic sacrifices. I'm not willing to do that. Then how will the result come? If the cause is not put into effect, how will the result come? If the cause is not set into motion, how will the effect come? And the opposite, dukkha. Dukkha is the result of papa, of demerit. And the papa is the product of adharma, unethical action. And so the shloka says, people don't want dukkha, but they will not stop doing unethical action. So naturally, if you have set into motion cause, effect will follow. So causality has to be understood, cause and effect. Just as an aside, I'm just remembering a modern version of this. I have given a talk about it, became quite popular long ago, more than 10 years ago, to college students, about the importance of restraint, about the importance of not giving into impulses. So there was this old marshmallow experiment with kids. Zimbardo repeated it. And those videos are very cute videos of children being offered marshmallows, and they're being told, if you wait, here's a marshmallow, do you want it? And the child says yes. Do you want two? Which all the kids say yes. Then the psychologist says, all right, I'll leave this one in front of you, but if you don't eat it, I'm going out, I'll come back. And if you've not eaten it, I'll give you one more. But if you have eaten it, you will just get that one. You will not get the second one. Okay. And the child says yes. All the children said yes. So all the children said, yes, we want the marshmallow. All the children said, yes, we will wait. All the children said, we want two marshmallows. And all the children said, we will wait. But then what happened is interesting. So the children did not know that they were being video recorded. As the psychologist left, and for a little kid, they are all 4-year-olds. For a little kid, 4-year-old, waiting for 10 minutes is also too much. And so you can see the kids looking around this way and that way. And then some of them just eat it. Some of them just eat they had said they will not eat. They know the cause and effect. If they wait, then they will get two. They'll get another one. But they couldn't stop themselves. So what they had said they would do, what they had initially wanted to do, what they had initially planned to do, they could not. Why? The impulse is too strong. This is called raga. It overwhelms our scruples. It overwhelms our plans, our decisions. We decide one thing, but we can't follow it. We keep coming back to the same old desires. So that raga pushes us over the boundary of ethics, our own self-control. and then they eat the marshmallow. So they don't get the second marshmallow. And then some other kids some kids waited, and they got the second marshmallow. And the very interesting thing was that they were followed for the next 14 years. Zimbardo followed them for the next 14 years. Before this had been done, Walter Mischel had done this experiment. Zimbardo just repeated it. And the claim is that those who exhibited some self-control, they said we will wait, and they waited somehow. They did better in the next 14 years of their school and college life. They were better at academics, better at sports, better at learning music, activities. They were more trusted by their friends and teachers and parents. The other kids, they would start something and give it up. They would be impulsive, and all of these things were there. So this is the difference. Why I'm saying all this? What Zimbardo said is an insight which the ancient Karmakandins had long, long ago. Zimbardo said, these second group of kids who waited, they have an instinctive understanding of causality. That if I do this, then I will get that. And it's strong in them. So that enables them to hold on. Let me wait. So I will get the result which is coming, a greater result which is coming in the future, instead of what is immediately. And it allows them to control their impulse. So it's an entirely worldly thing. Fulfill your desires, but do it wisely. And to do it wisely in a sustainable way, you need causality, cause and effect, not being impulsive. So causality is not a bad thing. But what Shankaracharya here is saying is, what we are aiming for here, spirituality, genuine spirituality, is to transcend causality, is not to ignore causality, is not to violate causality. Trying to violate causality leads to suffering. That person who wants happiness but will not do the necessary dharma for happiness, who does not want misery but cannot give up the adharma, the sinful life, which produces pain and sorrow. Whereas the spiritual seeker understands the limits of causality. Even the best of life produced by causality will come to an end. Even the best of life, you are rich, prosperous, well-regarded in society, healthy, a good family around you, all that will come to an end. Not only it will come to an end, number two, even when it is there, it's still not fulfilling. It's still not deeply satisfying. It's still not, does not take you beyond suffering. So a big question comes, is there any ultimate reality which we can attain, which will take us beyond this realm of causality? This whole, the way we put it normally in our ordinary parlance, the cycle of birth and death, this is just the effect of causality. Causes set up in ancient births have resulted in the present birth. The forces we set into motion by our actions now will result in future births. This cycle is due to causality only. So to go beyond causality is also to go beyond the cycle of birth and death. So anyway, this is the background. Now in the Vedic sense, here it gets a little esoteric. How do the Vedas view this? The Vedas say that causality, karma, can give you three kinds of results. There are causes and there are results. Sadhana, sadhya. Sadhana is the method, sadhya is the goal. Causes and effects. What can you gain in this universe, in this life? And the Vedic view of life was not just this life. It was a vast view of life, including many heavens, higher worlds, and also hellish worlds. Of all our possible existences, many lifetimes, this is just one lifetime, just a slice, a human lifetime. But there are many lives before this and many after this also. So, what is the Vedic worldview? You have a human birth. This is called Manushya Lokaha, human birth. Human body, human society, this, what we have right now. After death, one can aspire for a range of higher heavens called Pitriloka, the worlds of our ancestors, to which our ancestors, hopefully pious people, have gone and are dwelling for some time before they are reborn again. Remember, all of these, human birth or the Pitriloka, they are all impermanent. They may last for a long time, they may be very fine places, but they are all impermanent, all ultimately dissatisfying. And the third thing that one can get is the highest possible heaven, which the Vedas speak of, called Brahmaloka. So three kinds of results. This world, and a good life in this world, a good life in this world. And the second is heaven, by definition, a very good life, post-mortem, after death. And multiple kinds of heavens are there. And third one, highest heaven, Brahmaloka. In Sanskrit, Manushya-loka, Pitriloka, Brahmaloka. These are the three things to be achieved. How do you achieve them? In the Vedic sense, in the sense of Karma Kanda, the ritualistic portion of the Vedas. How do you achieve them? It says by children. By children, you will attain this world, the human birth. How? How do children help there? Well, the specific technical sense in which children help you to attain this birth is after our death, the children will perform our shraddha, our funeral rituals, and by the merit of that, the departed soul will be propelled back into a good human birth. So you need children. Now, this is symbolic also. Basically, you're contributing to human society. Notice, children give you a human birth. Basically, what you're doing is propagating the human race. So in that sense, in a very general sense also. Second, how do you go to the heavens? Karmana Pitriloka. By Vedic ritualistic actions, by performing the prescribed fire sacrifices, variety of fire sacrifices, by performing those ritualistic actions as prescribed in the Vedas, you go to this variety of heavens, after death. Nowadays, of course, people don't believe this is all theoretical. Some people do. I have myself attended the ritual conducted by a very well-off Indian family who conducted one of these ancient Vedic rituals. I guess they wanted to they want to go to heaven. But it's generally outdated. Most people don't believe it. And we'll say we don't believe all that stuff. And frankly, it's a kind of a loss. Yes, we are more intelligent, more skeptical. We don't believe in heavens and all that. We believe either in this material world. And one appeal of Vedanta is because Vedanta, as I keep saying, it's promising enlightenment and freedom here and now. And so people say, interested, okay, here and now, I can try that. If you promise after death something will happen, it's difficult to sell these days, especially for intelligent people. But the effect, one sadhu put it beautifully. He says the effect is this. He says, during my grandparents' time, I have seen in courts in the British period in India, somebody is pressurized to bear false witness, lie in court under oath. And the man refuses, saying that, बाल बच्चे हैं, ऐसा पाप नहीं कर सकते हैं. I have children and family and I can't do such sins, we'll go to hell if we tell lies in court. And he says, nowadays I see people going and telling lies in court, and if you ask them why, he says, baal bacche hain, because we have children, what can we do? We have to provide for them, I have to take the bribe. See, what has happened is the fear of hell and the temptation of heaven has gone. So now it's just this world. So in one sense, it might be a loss also. Anyway, by ritualistic action, one goes to heaven. Yajna. Karma means here yajna. Yajna means fire sacrifices. And by a set of meditations prescribed by the Upanishad, by the Karma Kanda, ritualistic portion of the Vedas, if you do those meditations along with your ritualistic actions, then you get a huge storehouse of karma, good karma, punya. And after death, there is rare kind of attainment. You go to Brahmaloka, the highest heaven, from which, by the way, one can attain moksha, freedom, this everlasting freedom from the world. Or if one has strong desires, one can again come back from Brahmaloka. Basic idea being, you were born into this world because of having children and who will carry on the Vedic traditions. And after death, we go into a range of higher heavens because of the rituals we have performed. And if you have performed the rituals along with the prescribed meditations, then you go to the highest heaven, Brahmaloka. All of this, these are worlds, as they are said in Punaravartina in Sanskrit. They are all worlds with return, very poetic use. These are worlds with return. You have a return ticket. Unless one attains to enlightenment, then you're free. This is the background. So Shankaracharya says here, the means and ends, the ends prescribed in your Karma Kanda are this world, heavens, and Brahmaloka. In Sanskrit, Manushya Loka, Pitriloka, Devaloka. Devaloka is Brahmaloka. And the means for that, putra, children. Then karma, Vedic rituals. And vidya, here vidya means upasana, meditations. Okay, with this background, let's see. Shankaracharya says we cannot combine the two, spirituality and worldliness. Why we cannot combine the two? The basic idea, before we dive into the complexities, the basic idea is true spirituality is beyond causality. And all worldliness and otherworldliness is entirely a matter of causality. There's something below causality also. It's an instinctive life, a foolish life, full of hard knocks. But the life of causality is meant for a good life in this world and heaven after death. But spirituality is going beyond causality. That's why the two cannot be combined. You cannot combine causality with non-causality. They're absolute contradictions. So now he quotes from the Upanishads to back up his where is all this coming from? He says, notice what your Karma Khanda says. He's replying to the objector. Notice what your Karma Khanda says. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Chaya me syat, let me have a wife. And this desire arose in the mind. And then it is followed by, he says, Iti prastutya, beginning with this, next few sentences. Look at the sentences which follow after that. He's telling the person who objected. Let me read out the original lines from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Putrenayam loko jayo nanyena karmana karmana pitriloka vidyaya devalokaha. By the child indeed is won this world of human beings. And by your Vedic rituals is won the world of the forefathers. And by your Vedic meditations is won the world of Brahma, Devaloka. This is your karma kanda, your ritualistic action. This is worldly life, this worldly and otherworldly. This is causality. What are the causes? Children, Vedic rituals, and meditations, Vedic meditations. What are the results? This world, the world of the forefathers, heavens, and the highest heaven, the world of Brahma. And all limited. Why are they limited? Well, causes are limited. There's a limitation to how much merit one can generate. And so the results also will be limited. Whatever is produced by action will be limited. It will come to an end one day. It's basic, it's logical. Now, this is causality from the Vedic perspective. In contrast, what's spirituality? What is spirituality? Shankaracharya says, then he quotes again from the same Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Tatraiva cha paribrajya vidhane heturuktaha. There itself, in that Upanishad, please see, when the topic of monasticism comes up, it is said with reasoning. Kim prajaya karishyamo yesham noyam atma ayam lokaha. What shall we do with children? Those of us who are interested in this infinite Atman, which is beyond causality. It is who are interested in the Atman, the world which is the Atman. You are interested in the world of human beings, in the world of the heavenly worlds and the world of Brahma. But we are interested in the world called the Atma. What is the world called the Atma? So here the word loka has to be derived differently. Lokyate means artha, purushartha, goal of human beings. So human birth can be the goal of a human being, and certainly one should aspire for that. Then going to heaven is a laudable goal for a human being post-mortem. And the Brahmaloka is, of course, the highest conception of heaven in Hinduism. However, all those are limited. They're worldly or otherworldly. They're not spiritual, really. Spirituality here is defined as being beyond cause and effect, beyond karma, beyond causality. That is, there alone lies freedom. And he says, those of us who want that, what shall we do with children? King Prajaya, with progeny. What shall we do with progeny? And that includes what shall we do with progeny, what shall we do with Vedic ritualistic action, or the meditations designed to take us to Brahmaloka, because we don't want any of that. Tatrayam hetvathaha. This is the meaning. Shankaracharya himself explains. This is the underlying reasoning. Praja karma tat sanyukta vidya sanyukta vidyabhir Manushya Pitra Devaloka Traya Sadhanair Anatmaloka Pratipatti Karanaihi Kinkarishyamaha. What shall we do with children, Vedic rituals, and meditations, which are methods for attaining human birth, heaven after death, and the world of Brahma? For these three results, what shall we do? Why? Why don't you want it? What do you want? Nachasmakam lokatrayam anityam sadhana sadhyam ishtam. We do not want these three results: human birth, heavens, or the world of Brahma. Why? Sadhana anitya, they are impermanent. Why are they impermanent? Sadhana sadhyam ishtam. Sadhana sadhyam. They are born of causes. So the effects born of causes will always be limited. Ishtam, it is not desired for us. We don't want it. Then what do you want? Yesham asmakam swabhaviko ajo ajaro amrito abhayo navadhate karmana no kaniyan anityascha loka ishtaha. We want that world. That word here refers to Brahman or Atman, the reality, which is what? What exactly is that? Swabhavika, which is our real nature, the real nature of everything. Ajo, which is unborn. See, all these worlds are born and they decay and they die. Ajaro, non-decaying. Amrito, non-dying. They're immortal, unborn, undecaying. And then he says, here's the clincher, abhaya, free from fear. All the worlds are infected with fear. The world of human beings, the world of the gods, and even up to Brahmaloka, if you have to come back, it's like they're infected with fear. Navadhate karmana no kaniyan. No action increases Atman or Brahman. No action can harm or decrease Atman or Brahman. It is perfect beyond all causes and consequences. Nothing that happens on the screen of a movie can affect the screen. The greatest tragedy, the greatest cyclone, Milton, or earthquake, or flood, nothing can affect the screen if it's a movie playing on a screen. If the screen is the reality, the cyclone is the movie. It will not affect the screen. And he says, not increased by karma. Not all your wonderful Vedic karmas, they will not add a single bit to the luster of your real nature, the Atman. Na kaniyan. Suppose you don't do them. I don't believe in all those Vedic rituals. I haven't done them. Well, not a little bit will you be affected. Your real nature, nothing is lost at all. Nityascha loka. This is the eternal verity or eternal reality. What loka, what world? Because loka immediately means world. He says Atma loka. This is the meaning. What he means, the self itself. And then he goes on to say, Sacha nityatvat. Nityatvat na avidya nivritti vyatirekena anya sadhana nishpadyaha. This reality is eternal and always there. Then how do you attain it if it's always there? There's no question of producing it through children or Vedic rituals or meditations. No question. It's always there. Then Shankaracharya says the only way, if you think it's always there and we don't see it, we don't understand it, where is it? Then there must be ignorance about it. Other than the removal of this ignorance, there is no other sadhana, practice, no other way of attaining this. Either you say it is attained and you honestly say, I am Brahman, it's fine. Everything is fine. Or if we cannot honestly say that, then our problem is ignorance, not to be solved by Vedic rituals or by Vedic meditations, to be solved only by Vedantic knowledge, that which is coming. Remember, all the background is 8 chapters of ritualism have gone by in the Talavakara section of the Samaveda. Now the 9th chapter is coming, the Upanishad. So what's happened in the 8th chapter in contrast with the 9th chapter? That's what the stage is being set up by Shankaracharya here. Tasmat pratyagatma brahma vijnana purvaka sarveshana sannyasa eva kartabhya iti. Here is the clincher. Shankaracharya is a heavy supporter of monasticism. He says, then what should we do? Then he says, sarveshana sannyasa. To first give up this pursuit, this mad pursuit of worldliness and otherworldly heavens. the three strong desires which bind you down. Putreshana, Vitteshana, Lokeshana. So here, Putra and Vitta refer to children and the money which is spent, or the meditations which are done in order to attain the lokas, the worlds, that is human world, heaven after death, and the world of Brahman. Causes and effects. And they say you give them up. Giving them up is equal to sannyasa, monastic life. Embrace the monastic life. And he means it formally. This is what is meant by formal monasticism in Vedanta. From a Vedantic perspective, Vedic perspective, formal monasticism is stepping back from causality. That sounds very philosophical. But practically, it implies that your goal is not ultimately, you may be in a family, but your goal is not the family. You may be raising kids, but the goal is not ultimately the kids. Parents often, they're obsessed with kids, even when the kids don't need them. And parents are, that becomes a problem. Huh? The same love and affection which raised the kids, I see it all the time. Now the kids will be around rolling their eyes, but the mom and dad, especially moms, can't let go. So that detachment must be there. One must step back. Even when the kids are there, that is not my goal. I have done my duty. I do it as a spiritual practice. Even raising the children, even a marriage is a spiritual practice. Then it's all right. But by the way, Shankaracharya does not mean that. Let me be very clear. He means formal monasticism. He says Eshanatra Sannyasa actually means you formally stop engaging in worldly life. But what is the connection? The connection is this. Children and Vedic rituals and Vedic meditations, especially children and Vedic rituals, they require you to be married. So the Vedic worldview was, without being married, without being a householder, you don't have the right to have children or perform Vedic rituals. If you have become a monk has given up those. Therefore, a monk should not marry, should not engage in sexual relationships, should be celibate, should not have children, have progeny, should not accumulate wealth, vitta, and should not aim for heaven. So these three are basically what monasticism is, very definition of monasticism. Celibacy, poverty, and not looking for this world or other worlds. Because you are looking for removal of ignorance of what exists, our reality, that is our real nature, Atman. That's what you're looking for. Not engaging is any cause and effect. That's why you see this old idea, it's there in so many stories. Why Rama, after banishing Sita to the woods, when he had to perform a Vedic ritual, the biggest of Vedic rituals, Ashwamedha, but he cannot perform it without Sita, because a person cannot perform the rituals without the wife. Therefore, a golden Sita had to be made. And those, on the other hand, see what Shankaracharya has accomplished here is very central in these debates. Why it's important is this. This has saved and nurtured Vedantic monasticism. If the masters of the Karma Kanda had their way, everybody would have to marry. Everybody would have to have children, so that for the purpose of Vedic rituals, everybody would have to engage in Vedic rituals. You have no way of coming out of it. And Shankaracharya says, now he has to be very careful here. He cannot deny the Vedic rituals. If he does that, he will endanger his own Upanishads also. Upanishads are just a tiny part of the Vedas. If you call into question the Vedas themselves, then your Upanishads are also automatically called into question. So he has to walk a tightrope here. He has to say it's perfectly all right. You want children, you want to go this, you want a human birth, you want to go to heaven, you want to go to even Brahma Loka, go for it. Marry, have children, bring them up properly. Make sure they perform the Shraddha when you're dead. And then do the rituals so that you can go to heaven. But if you want that which is beyond cause and effect, if you want moksha, if you want Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana, you must give up these three desires for children, wealth, and for higher worlds. Give them up, and then only you are. This is literally sannyasa. More than this, I cannot say. What goes beyond this is secret. And there are people, very sweet people in the Himalayas who I have known, the householders. They would be terrified of this, because they would say, don't go any further, because if you, the belief is, if you actually hear the mantras, which say this, what we just read. There are actual mantras which are repeated just before becoming a monk. And they basically say what has just been said here. If you actually hear that, you have to become a monk. Even if you're a householder, right now you have to leave everything and become a monk. And that's so, yes, that is the meaning. Summing up, Shankaracharya here says, all that has gone in the past 8 chapters is Karma Khanda. What is starting now, 9th chapter, is Jnana Khanda, is the portion dealing with knowledge, self-knowledge. Karma Khanda deals with causes and effects. Children for human birth, Vedic rituals for heavens, and meditations for Brahmaloka. All limited, all likely to send you back, tumbling back into the cycle of cause and effect, which is samsara. Those who want liberation from samsara, those who want the reality, those who want to go beyond causality, they will have to give up these projects. And Shankaracharya recommends you do that formally, actually become a formal monk. But notice, there is this crucial idea. Formal sannyasa itself is not crucial for enlightenment. What is crucial is giving up the desire for causes and effects and desiring that which is beyond cause and effect, which is our real nature. So this is the crucial point here. It's subtle, but very important. And this is the key to understanding Vedantic monasticism. Now, one more point before we start the Upanishad. What I'll do is I'll just mention this point and stop to see there might be questions and observations before we start the Upanishad. It's a dialogue. Shankaracharya says it's a dialogue. Why is it a dialogue? He mentions 2 reasons why it's a dialogue. He says, Shishya Acharya Prashna Prativachana Rupena Kathanam tu Sukshma Vastu Vishayatvat Sukha Pratipatti Karanam Bhavati. Because the matter going to be discussed is extremely subtle. It's the subtlest of all teachings in all human enterprises. And therefore, if it is taught in the format of a dialogue with questions and answers, then it becomes easy to understand, entertaining, easy. You'll see, just like the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks the questions, and often we feel, if you're following carefully, you feel that it's your question which Arjuna asked. And then the answers become very meaningful for you. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we find this continuous dialogue. Sri Ramakrishna is replying to questions. And in the Upanishads, most of the Upanishads are dialogues between teacher and taught, the student and the teacher. In some Upanishads, you find the name of the teacher and the student. In the Katha Upanishad, teacher is none other than Yamaraj, a lord of death. And the student is just little boy, Nachiketa. We just did the Mundaka Upanishad last year. In Mundaka Upanishad, Angiras is the teacher and Shaunaka is the student. In this Upanishad, there's a teacher and a student, but we don't know their names. We don't know their names. The names have not been mentioned. How do you know there's a teacher and a student? Because there are questions and answers. It starts with a question, and then there's an answer. And there's a test. A test. The teacher puts like a quiz to the student, very difficult test. And the student replies. So there is clearly a teacher and a student. So the dialogue is useful because it makes this discussion easy to understand, entertaining, easy to grasp, interesting. Second, why is there a dialogue? Kevala tarka gamyatvam cha darshitam bhavati. Also, it is displayed that you can't do it by free thinking yourself. Enlightenment, you can't argue your way to God. You can't reason your way to enlightenment. It requires it to be pointed out by a teacher. Because, especially in the path of knowledge, people make a mistake sometimes. We see so much reasoning, so much logic, such, it seems so intellectual. One thinks one can do it. I can read a book and find out for myself. No, you can do that maybe later, but initially one must be set on this path by a competent teacher. See, it is all, even the Upanishads are basically pointing out something. It's not speculation, it's not speculative thinking, it's not a series of arguments. Those are there, they're all supporting. Really, it's a pointing out to something that exists. And that pointing out is done in the presence of an enlightened teacher. So he says, Kevala Tarka, it just can't be done by mere reasoning. I'll just reason my way, argue my way to enlightenment. No, you can't do it. Even supported by AI, you can't do it. I was just reading today, Nobel Prizes are being awarded. I was surprised to see those who got the chemistry Nobel Prize for the research into protein structure, and I think synthesis of proteins also. And they said that a lot of their work was possible only because of AI, help from AI. I was surprised. So this is amazing. That AI is, at first we thought AI is making inroads into humanities only. You can write an essay or a letter, or you can write a poem, short story, text-based. Nothing to do with science or mathematics. But I read 2 articles, this one today, and a few days back, Terence Tao, who is one of the leading mathematicians, string theorist, I think, I'm not very sure. He's one of the leading mathematicians in the world, pure mathematicians in the world today. And he tried out AI in math, in cutting edge math, research math. And he graded it. He graded the AI. He says it's equal to a not entirely hopeless grad student. Not entirely hopeless grad student, which is not bad really. AI is close to a grad student level in mathematics, my God. But even with an AI helping you, you still can't make it without a teacher. So at least you have to be introduced to this kind of knowledge by teacher. Once you're introduced, you can continue on your own. And then he gives a number of quotations to show it can't do it just by argumentation. Finally, Shankaracharya concludes his introduction by saying, what does the student do? Goes to a guru. What kind of guru? And how do you go to a guru? And why do you go to a guru? And what is it that you are asking for? So all of that he says, Kaschid gurum brahmanishtam vidhivad upetya pratyagatma vishayad anyatra sharanam apashyan abhayam nityam shivam achalam icchan papracha iti kalpyate. Shankaracharya says, we have to imagine this. Because the teacher and the student have not been mentioned, it's just questions and answers. Let us imagine a student goes to a guru. Who is which guru? Brahmanishtam, one who is centered in Brahman. This comes from the Upanishads. What are the qualities? Who can be a guru? Shrotriyam, Brahmanishtam, Akamahatam. Three characteristics. The most ancient definition of guru. Shrotriyam must be master of the Vedantic tradition. A person can be a very spiritual person, but if a person has not mastered a particular Vedantic tradition, what is he or she going to transmit to you? Personally, could be a very spiritual person. Second, Brahmanishtam. That person must be centered, must be a deeply spiritual person. If the person is enlightened, we can't know. How can we know if a person is enlightened? But just look at the life of the person. Is the person all about God, all about spirituality, all about the whole, or is it a part-time enterprise with that person? So the guru must be someone whose whole life is about spirituality, about God, or more clearly about this Vedantic path. Brahmanishtam, nishtha, centered, committed to, dedicated to Brahman. That is the main theme of the life of the guru. Notice it does not say Brahmagyani, who's enlightened, because that the student can't test. And third, very important, Akamahata, must be of great character, moral, unimpeachable moral character. If person leads a double life, there's something wrong. So the person cannot be a guru, definitely. So the person must be a person of integrity. Literally, it means akamahata, not damaged by desire, not destroyed, harmed by desire. So these 3 qualities, that's indicated here. These 3 qualities, such a guru, vidhivad upetya, approaches in the right manner. What is the right manner? This is in the Mukhya Upanishad, if you remember, we have studied it. Vijnanartham gurumeva bhigachet samitpani shrotriyam brahmanishtam. Mukhya Upanishad we studied. Approaches a guru with sacrificial wood in hand. What does it mean? It means in ancient ashramas, you would go and offer the guru something that is useful for the ashram. And one thing that was useful for the ashram was the wood which was used in Vedic sacrifices. So you would take those sacrificial wood, offer it at the feet of the guru, do a shashtanga, lie down flat on the ground and offer a namaskara and offer gifts and say, I have come, please teach me this. And that's how you approach. Vidhivat upetya. I've also said, this happened to me when I mentioned it in Hollywood, when I first came to the United States. Next in the morning, when I opened my door, there was a little bundle of firewood there. tied up in a ribbon. I don't know. I've got it here also, I think. I have a feeling I got it from Hollywood. Anyway, then he says, seeing that there is no other refuge except enlightenment, he asks, and student asks about Abhayam, the fearless, the one which is beyond fear, Nityam, the one which is eternal, Shivam, the one which is beyond suffering, Achalam, that which is unmoving, desiring this, Icchan, asks a question. What is the question? We shall see. Now, let's quickly look at the comments before we go on, because now we're going to start the Upanishad. It is one of the shortest Upanishads and yet one of the most powerful Upanishads. You'll thoroughly enjoy it. By the way, before I forget, we have just started Durga Puja, and it's very auspicious that we have started this Upanishad on the occasion of Durga Puja, because in this Upanishad and in this one alone, Devi Durga makes an appearance. At the end of this Upanishad, you will find Durga Uma Haimavati, daughter of the Himalayas, Uma. She appears and she gives enlightenment. To those who are seeking enlightenment, they get it because of the blessings of Uma. Otherwise, one cannot get enlightenment. So that part is there towards the end of this Upanishad. Quickly, the observations and questions. What do the Vedas prescribe for those who are unable to have children? Or there are rituals for those who are unable to have children, and then they can have children. By the way, that's not a question to ask in this class. In this class, we are supposed to go beyond that kind of thinking. Even don't have children, doesn't matter. You're not looking for a human birth. So that's fine. You have more time now. You have more time and energy. You don't have to chase the kids around and bring them up. It takes away most of your time and energy. So you are well situated for a spiritual life. Priyanka asks, in one of the verses in the Gita, doesn't Krishna say that some enlightened people may give up rituals? We believes in continuing them even after enlightenment. How do we understand this? Yes, he says continue work even after enlightenment. Na buddhi bhedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam. Those who are attached to karma. Now you understand, cause and effect. So they are trying to lead a pious life, a good life. They're working hard to get the second marshmallow. They're trying to control themselves. Don't tell them marshmallows are useless. Don't bother. There is something much higher than marshmallows, which is enlightenment. No, they need to go through, they're kids. So they need to develop that way and then show them the right way. You also wait for the second marshmallow, and you need not eat the marshmallows. You can get the second one and give them both to the kids. But so for the benefit of the world, one should lead an exemplary dharmic life. So as far as possible, you don't have to do all the Vedic rituals. You cannot. You don't have the time and energy for that. But don't criticize them if they're trying to do it, because that's at their level. If you take that away from them, they will sink to the instinctive level, that I will pursue money and pleasure wherever it takes me. I don't care as long as I don't get caught by the police. I'll just do whatever I like. That is an instinctive, animalistic level. They are trying to rise above that by being moral, decent people. Don't tell them that all this is temporary, all this is the worlds which will end, even up to the world of Brahma. You have to come back to this world again. Try to realize Brahman. No. Until they have a genuine desire for spirituality, until that time, one should not disturb the faith of ordinary. Suppose someone says, people generally are not doing these Vedic rituals nowadays. But what they are doing is, they're going to temples and churches and mosques and praying to God, leading a conventionally ritualistic, devotional life, asking for worldly things. Someone asks a disease to be cured, someone prays for a beloved person in a family, someone asks for a job or something, some worldly or otherworldly thing they ask for, blessings. Now, don't damage the faith of such people by saying those are all effects and you're setting into motion causes, and causes and effects are limited. They will never lead to satisfaction. Don't do that. You'll harm the spiritual development of such people. Krishna also says, Yad yad acharati shrestha tat tad evetaro jana. As the persons who excel in life, those who are great in this world, what they do, others will imitate. As parents do, children will imitate. Remember, no matter how much you may tell the children, they will not listen. There's a very nice saying that children do not listen, they imitate. But what you do, they will inevitably one day or other, to some extent, they will imitate as per their samskaras. Similarly with people. Then Sanket says, according to Shankar, is monastic life the only way for moksha? Does he recognize internal renunciation of householder? Yes, he does. In the Mundaka Upanishad commentary, Bhashya, there's a clear indication by Shankaracharya, which says that the renunciation is the key thing, and not the external, It's a renunciation. If you take up this, if you go beyond causes and effects, if you give up the causes and trying to generate the effects internally, then that's enough. Because he cannot deny it. There are so many examples in the Upanishads itself. The very Upanishads he's quoting. Yajnavalkya, the hero of the Upanishads, was married. He had 2 wives. And many of the rishis who have given these Upanishads, here who is the rishi, we have no direct indication. But in many of the rishis, clearly they were married. Some were men, some were women. Many of them had children. Some were monks. So you cannot deny that Krishna himself is a householder. So are you saying Krishna is not enlightened? Rama and Krishna. So all of them. Shankara sounds very much like Swamiji saying, give one life to God. Yes. This was Swamiji's clarion call to spiritual seekers everywhere, especially monks. I remember this monk, the oldest living monk I had met. He lived to an age of 104, the second oldest. His name was Swami Vedanta. We used to call him Biren Maharaj, but his sannyas name I've forgotten. He was a disciple of Swami Sarvapriyananda. And how he became a monk, he was a youngster, schoolboy. He was reading Swami Vivekananda, he told me. He was reading Swami Vivekananda and he says, Swami Vivekananda says, Denakta Jivon, give one life. Many lives you have wasted. Give one life. And then Swamiji says, it will not be wasted, I guarantee you that. Give one life for God. Anyway, he just says, Denakta Jivon, give one life. And Biren must told me, there's such fire in his eyes. He was in his late 90s when I heard this from him. He says, immediately stood up in his house and he walked out of the house, became a monk, never looked back again. It was nearly 80 or 90 years ago. So give one life. Abhijit, for Vedic rituals done by children, Shraddha, is it not the male child is required? Yes, that's why it says Putra. But child, progeny is the whole point of it. Therefore, nowadays you have girls also doing the Shraddha for departed parents. I think it's perfectly all right. Na karmana, na prajaya, na dhane, na tyagene, amritattvamana indicate formal sannyasi. Exactly. So in traditional households, when a monk visits, you chant this. This is from the Upanishads. Na karmana, na prajaya, na dhane, na tyagena eke amritattvamana. Na karmana, not by Vedic rituals. Na prajaya, not by children. Na dhanena, here dhana means wealth. It also means the wealth that the punya you get by Vedic meditation. The third one. So vitta. Tyagena, only by renunciation. Amritatvamanashu can one attain immortality. Can one enjoy immortality. This is what you chant when a monk enters your house. In recognition of what ideal does this person stand for. Reminding oneself and the monk also. Abhijit, thank you. Analyst and number theorist, Tao. Terence Tao? Yes. Oh, that I completely forgot. Somebody has pointed out, DJ to everyone, to 2024 Nobel Prize in Physics is given to top AI researchers. That's right. That's what I should have said first. So this is the Nobel Prize for AI. This already winning AI. AI is already winning Nobel Prize or helping us to win Nobel Prizes. Just an aside here that might be interesting. A friend of mine was a leading intellectual. I mean, I will not take his name, one of the most brilliant people I've met. And he's a bit of a harsh critic of the humanities. So he was saying last year. Look how ChatGPT is threatening the humanities. People who do literature and things like that, their jobs are threatened by ChatGPT, because now ChatGPT can write essays and articles and even books and all that. It's a text-based AI. But AI cannot generate, it cannot do anything for mathematics. It's no good at mathematics. It's no good at, fundamental research in science. Science is real knowledge. That shows science is real knowledge, and humanities is not real knowledge. It's fake knowledge. It's just playing with text. But now he's comprehensively routed, I think. What is happening? AI is getting people Nobel Prizes in science, in physics. How much more fundamental can you get than that? I'm sure very soon Fields Medal also will be awarded to people who used AI in their mathematics. Yes, Sanket mentions AI. AI is creating new designs and products. Sangeeta, I'm curious to understand this. Why, even when the Varnashramas are so clearly delineated Hindu Dharma, even if Adi Shankara is not followed, why don't we hear most Vedanta teachers, gurus encouraging people to move ahead from the Grihastha ashram in their Upadesha? They do. The whole structure is that from Brahmacharya, one moves up to Grihastha, from a student life, preparatory life, one moves up to householder life. And from householder life, one moves up to a retired life. And you disengage from worldly activities, still stay together, your husband, wife, but you engage more and more in spiritual activities, spiritual practices, study, and then sannyasa. Now, it may not be practical for everybody, but definitely external formal sannyasa may not be practical for everybody at the age of 70 or 80, but definitely spiritual life is practical for everybody. Everyone should do that, should try at least. And one should try from the very beginning, from the student life and in the householder life. And then as age catches up, the world goes ahead and leaves you behind. You should be happy. What happens at that life is that people try to catch on to the world which is leaving you behind. You should go say, Godspeed, go ahead. I have got enough time. Now I've got enough to do. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga, jnana yoga, so much to do. I don't have time for other worldly things. So Godspeed, whenever I can help, I will help, but not getting involved too much. So that is vanaprasthashram, the retired life. And then sannyasa, formal sannyasa, if one could, one should, I think, if one can do that. Internally, one should do that, definitely. Kiran says, observation, spiritual seekers across generations asked different types of questions, led them to the same truth. Arjun asked about his dharma, Buddha about suffering, Narendra about the existence of God. Yes, beautifully put. Look, we will see what question this student asks. Dharmesh says, how do we know when the time is right? I mean, we have moved through the necessary stages to move towards moksha. When you want moksha, you are here, that means you already want moksha. Rick is doing a lot with AI. Good. Swamiji Sonali says regarding akamahata, some people say non-binding desires may remain. Yes, non-binding desires may remain as long as the body is there. You may prefer a particular flavor of coffee. Sri Ramakrishna liked jalebis, the sweets. Swami Vivekananda liked ice cream. Does that prevent their moksha? Not at all. That's not a problem at all. As long as we don't feel bound by it. If we get the result of, if we get what you desire, good. If we don't get it, equally good. The Gita has said that. Ishta anishta upapattishu. When desired and undesired results come about, are you able to maintain your serenity? Then you are fine. Strong binding desires, you will not be able to maintain your serenity. That's the thing, you get upset. If the things do not, if I don't get what I want, and if I have a strong desire for it, then I'll get upset. I will not be able to maintain serenity. Bhargava Teja says, the present problem is people are not able to detach from Grihastha ashram. I agree, absolutely. One is people are not even aware of the possibility of spiritual life. Swayampreet, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. You raised your hand.
Maharaj Pranam.
Yes.
Maharaj, I had like a couple of questions. The first question is, in Vedanta we study that consciousness is awareness, and we are able to tell that I'm aware of my mind, I'm aware of my body, but a dead person is not able to say that. Can we decipher from that that consciousness is dependent on body-mind complex to express itself?
Yes, if
And
consciousness, so the Sankhyan philosopher will say consciousness is dependent on body-mind complex to express itself. Advaitin says no. It is the body-mind complex which is dependent on consciousness. How? Body-mind by itself does not have awareness, and in Advaita, body-mind by itself does not have existence also. So, for example, in your dream, when you are walking and talking, you're walking with your body in the dream, talking with your mouth in the dream. But when you wake up, you realize the whole thing was a dream in your mind. Now will you say, the mind is dependent upon the dream body for walking in the dream world. The mind is depending upon the dream mouth for speaking in the dream world. No, 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 no. The dream world, the dream body, the dream mouth, and speaking and walking in the dream world, they all depend on the mind. They are nothing but the mind. That is the Advaita position. But you are right. Sankhyan position will be that consciousness and matter, Purusha and Prakriti, depend on each other. Those questions you are jumping ahead. Right now, the student will ask that question. What is the nature of consciousness? Let us just
Maharaj,
start.
one last question.
Yes.
In the daily, the Vespa services, we sing the Arati, Khandana Bhava Bandhana. In there is one line, Namo Namo Prabhu Vakyamanartitha Manovachana Ekadar. What does that mean, that
Yes.
particular?
Before that, what is there?
The
Jyotira
last,
Jyoti.
Jyoti, after that, Jyotira Jyoti Ujjala
Ujjala
Ridhi
Ridhi
Kandana,
Kandara.
Tumitamo Bhanjana.
So there are these two things together. Light of lights. Ujjala Ridhi Kandara, shining in my mind. Ridhi here means buddhi guha, in your mind or in your buddhi, shining there. And so that is consciousness. And consciousness is that which is the illuminer of all thoughts and all words. Manovachana ekadhara. And the reality of them also. Okay, let me start with the first mantra, which is a remarkable question. Amazing question. One of the greatest questions ever asked, maybe 5,000 years ago and resounding till today. It's taken up new force in this day and age, with the same question which is David Chalmers and others are asking today, which has become the hard problem of consciousness thousands of years ago. How remarkable. Let me just read the first mantra. Om Keneshitam Padati Preshitam Mana Kena Prana Prathama Preti Yuktaha Keneshitam Vacham Imam Vadanti Chakshu Shrotram Kaudeva Yunakti. The student asks, willed by whom does the directed mind go towards its object? Being directed by whom does the vital force that precedes all proceed towards its duty? By whom is the speech willed that people utter? Who is the effulgent being who directs the eyes and the ears? It's basically a question about the nature of consciousness. All our life, the most important thing is our life is basically conscious experiences. The worst of our experiences require consciousness. The best and the most sublime of our experiences require consciousness. Those scientists we just read about, heights of intellectual and scientific achievement, only in and through consciousness. People who are illiterate are also conscious. Our pain and pleasure require consciousness. Our emotions and memories, our life is a panorama playing in consciousness. So this conscious experience is what we call life. And yet we don't know what is consciousness. This is the question being asked by the student. My mind is thinking all the time. How? Why? What's behind this? I see. It's an experience of seeing. It's an experience of hearing, experience of speaking and breathing, of living. He says prana. And then he says there is one reality behind all of this. So notice, very interesting. He's not asking about psychology, mind. He's not asking about vocal mechanism, speech. He's not asking about respiration, breathing. He's not asking about hearing. Each of these has big departments in medical college and they'll have shelves and shelves of books about it. Though that's not the question which he's asking. He's asking one question only. It looks like a series of questions, but it's also one question only. What's that one shining being which gives us the experiences of thinking, speaking, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, living? It's a Advanced question. One great philosopher, Arindam Chakravarti, told me, Swami, stay with the question. Stay with the question. He told me, so he goes to the root of the word. Some very interesting thing he shared with me. So he said, in English, we say ask, ask. And ask has two meanings in English. One meaning is asking a question, asking for information, like the student asked, what's the nature of consciousness? What's the nature of consciousness? Ask. But there's another meaning in English. Ask is a demand. What's my ask? What am I asking of you? What am I asking you to do? It's a command. One is a request for knowledge. One is a command to do something, a demand to do something. And he says, look at the structure of the Vedas, Karma Khanda and Jnana Khanda. One part of it, the bulk of it is an ask in the sense of commanding you to do these things. Another, the last part of it is a question in the sense of the asking for the reality. And the second point he mentioned to me was even more startling, very deep here. He says, those who are from India, some of you might know, in our people in the villages, not India at least I know, they find it difficult to pronounce the English word ask. They say axe instead of ask. Axe instead of ask. And then the professor said, we think they are villages, so they're obviously wrong. They can't speak English. This is when I went back to, he was talking about old German probably. The word for asking a question is in that, I think the roots of, he'll be able to tell me better, old German or one of the old European languages, is ax, not ask, is ax, to ask for information. And then he said, now look back. What is the beginning of creation? Tad aikshata. There is an ultimate reality. And then it asked. Aikshata means it saw. Basically, it saw. It shone. It saw, and then that led to creation. But the root is the same, aksha. This aksha also comes from that. After all, what are our eyes doing? Eyes means, aksha means eyes, and senses. They're asking, getting question, answer. Anyway, all this is esoteric, but I found it very fascinating. His meditation on the word ask or ax. But he told me all these dialogues, Gita, question and answer, Upanishads, question and answer, we are eager to get to the answer. Yes, I want to know this. Let me see what Yama tells Nachiketa. Jump ahead. Poor Nachiketa asked a question, well, goodbye. But let's listen to the answers. That's what I want to know. Here also, I want to know the answer. And the professor told me, no, Swami, stay with the question. Stay with the question first. First, make it your own question. Understand the question in depth. Let it vibrate within you. Let it become your inquiry. The overwhelming urge to know, this is a life and death question for me. I know that the secret of the universe lies in this. And I want to know this. Nothing more important in life than knowing the answer to this. This is my ask. So stay with the question, meditate the question. This is an amazing, amazing question, especially at the end of the 20th century, beginning of 21st century, where consciousness studies is leading us. Next class, we will explore the question and some subtleties. We'll see some real headache-causing subtleties raised by Shankaracharya in his commentary before we go on to the answer. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.